Order at 7 p.m. Very much. Just got our list from everybody here this evening. Glad you could be with us tonight. We don't have anyone who's signed to say anything as far as public comments. So we're going to move forward with we have some recognitions, but we also have some presentations first that we want to give so everyone can hear that. And I think we're going to start with the Blue Ridge High School Spanish.
Maybe? Yeah, okay. All right, so my name is Liz Reesner. I am the Spanish teacher here at Blue Ridge High School. Back in the beginning of November, when it wasn't quite so chilly outside, I was able to go up to Milwaukee to go to the Comprehensible Midwest Conference. So this conference is hosted by CI Midwest, which is a grassroots group of teachers who have come together to provide support for teachers in the Midwest. A lot of the world language trainings and conferences are all on the coasts or down south. There's not a ton here local-y-ish. So they're focused on the pedagogy of comprehensible input, which is focusing on making sure that students can actually speak the language when they leave the class. They're not just rote memorization of lists of vocab, but actually being able to use it and be productive with the language. They offer a yearly conference, and there's a wide community of support. At the conference this year, there were, I believe, 260 different teachers from all over the Midwest and a few other outlying areas, including myself. So I went to a few different workshops. The first was a novel approach, teaching for acquisition using leveled readers. This is something that for me is really near and dear to my heart. I absolutely love reading, and I absolutely love when I can get my students to read in a different language. It's great for my classroom, for them learning, but it also supports all the other teachers here in the building with boosting their reading levels because they use the same things, and it really just reinforces those things. The next one is diversity, equity, and inclusion in the world language classroom. A lot of times our classrooms with world language can very easily skew to places that aren't as including, aren't as accepting of other people. And this was something that is also very near and dear to my heart, to make sure that all of my students who come into my room feel welcome, feel accepted, because there's no way they're gonna learn if they don't think that we're on their side and that we're behind them. And then I went to a few different sessions, all of these focused on either different teaching strategies, different ideas. The one that I personally found the most interesting was CI and the ADHD mind. As someone who definitely has ADHD, it works wonderfully. CI is very, or can be very chaotic, a very controlled chaos in the classroom, which for someone with ADHD tends to gear really well to us. However, for other students, it might not. So like looking at how I can support my students who do have ADHD, but those who don't, and make sure that everything that we do is for a reason and has a dear purpose. Finally, we had the keynote speaker, which is Jim Roldridge. He is the creator of Senior Woolly, which is one of my absolute favorite programs to use in the classroom. I did get his autograph and take a picture and gloat to all of my students that I met him. I think one of the best things that I took away from his keynote speech is he made a video for students to remember the conjugation of ser, which means to be. And he showed it to his department, and they all said, that was really great. What's it for? What do you use it for? What's the point? Which to me, it just kind of drives home, like, yes, we can do all these wonderful things. We can make all these wonderful presentations, but what's the point? Why are we actually using it? And the real point with CI and with my classroom especially is to make sure students actually are able to use the language to communicate with other people, to build the community, and to look at the person next to them and at the end of the day actually get to know them. And yeah, so Thank you.
We also have a presentation for our Blue Ridge High School dual credit.
Yeah, I'll let you hit the button while I start. So last month I talked about that this month, as long as there was no grandchild on the way, I would be here presenting on dual credit. And I'm really excited to finally have this opportunity. I can remember 10 years ago sitting in the back of the library at strategic planning and having parents saying, you know, one thing we'd really like for our high school to have is for our students to have the opportunity to take some dual credit classes. And so with a lot of extra research and time and lots of meetings, we've put together this presentation that will hopefully give you some light onto what it is that we would like to offer, what it would take for us to be able to do that, and when we would like to do that. Special thanks to Leslie Hieronymus, Cheyenne Clayton, our counselors who've put an extreme amount of work into this presentation. Lauren Lacey, who you're going to hear her name, she's right here in the front, so you can put a face to a name. Kendra Jones, also part of the English department, and then Casey Monsu. Casey, will you raise your hand? You'll hear his name as well as high school admin have put a lot into this. So I will now turn it over to our counselors.
Awesome, thank you. Hello. This is really the worst spot, right? Like, I want to be this way. I want to be this way. Okay. So we're here this evening to talk about dual credit. As Mrs. Trimble mentioned, we've put a lot of time into this to get as much information as we can to share with all of you. We've also shared with the board a Google sheet that's basically just a gigantic chart with lots and lots of information in it. And hopefully that is going to answer those frequently asked questions about dual credit and about what we're trying to do here. So, you know, we're really proud of all of our students. We want to see all of our students succeed. We spend a lot of time, catering to those different interests, and this is one of them. By all means, not the only interest or the only path, but it is a path that a lot of our students are interested in taking. So today we are going to talk about dual credit. We're going to be asking the board to consider the approval of a few new classes, as well as potentially approving some grant money to assist in the training of one of our teachers. So we started talking more about dual credit when with strategic planning, okay? And as we all know how the strategic planning process works, conversations during that time identified that dual credit was something that the community was interested in, something that we wanted to move forward with, and so, that's kind of where we are. The U.S. Department of Education notified Mrs. Trimble that we're eligible for a grant called REAP, Rural Education Achievement Program, which can be used to bring dual credit opportunities to schools and to students. And then we were able to speak with current juniors. That would be the first group of seniors who would be eligible to take these classes to see what kind of interest they had in this. So, all right. This is kind of just a little kindness to Parkland. When we shared our information with them, Lisa Line, the early college coordinator, said, oh, but if it's this kind of class, it's this cost, and if it's this kind of class, it's this cost. And so this is really just kind of our disclaimer that says that the information that we've gathered for this presentation is not to be used in lieu of actual guidance if you were wanting to attend Parkland or take different types of courses like lab courses or that sort of a thing. All right. So in case that you're not super familiar with dual credit, this is what it is. So sometimes it is called early college. At Parkland, it is called early college. That's what their office is called. Students will earn both Parkland credit and Blue Ridge credit at the same time. These classes are taught by Parkland teachers or Blue Ridge teachers if they are qualified, and it is a Parkland college course that is designed by Parkland and supported by Parkland basically in all ways. It is a real college course. Students are beginning their college transcript. We always, even when students are just independently doing dual credit, we always try to emphasize that because, that's a big permanent thing. And how is dual credit helpful for students? So it would save students a lot of money. In this particular scenario, these dual credit classes would be approximately $41 for students instead of $525. So that's a pretty big cost savings. Obviously, it's going to be preparing students for college courses, but with our local support, our local resources. So, taking that first step into college can be very intimidating, but it's pretty awesome if they can go to a familiar face in their familiar school to take the course. And students can enroll in college with some of their gen eds complete. Realistically, if they took each one of these classes, they could be entering college with 12 college credits. All right, so dual credit is good for some students. It maybe isn't great for everybody, right? So dual credit is going to be best for students who are completely up to date with their credits and on track for graduation. We're looking for students who typically do well in their ELA classes. They could pass the Parkland placement exam. All students who take dual credit do have to pass the Parkland placement exams so that we know that they're going to be successful in the course. We wouldn't want to set someone up, to struggle in the course. So these are students who maybe have college on their future, community college, trade school, or even formal on-the-job training. These are going to be good classes to prepare students for those paths. We also are looking for students who can make time for a challenging course. There might be a perfectly eligible student who is way too busy to be able to incorporate this, and so it might not be best for them to do that. But we are looking for students who want to take that challenge and can make that time. And it might not be appropriate for students who are behind in credits or struggle or, basically kind of the opposite of all of these things. Okay, there are several different delivery options for dual credit. The first one is just completely arranged by the student. Right before the presentation started, someone said, can you do dual credit like in the summertime? And yes, you can. You need to have it approved by the school, but you can do dual credit in the summer. But basically that is you arranging every little detail of every part of it, the student arranging that. And that would be, paid by the student, very little school involvement other than approving the course ahead of time. Another option is a Parkland course that is taught online by Parkland staff with all of our students in one course together. And that would look like an online class, but it would be all of our students smushed into one online class. And there's different billing formats for that. The school would be billed for that for approximately $4,000 and then would be divided among the students. The break-even number on that is 8. So we would have to have 8 students, otherwise it would be more cost-effective for them to just sign up on their own. But in that method, there could be a really big cost savings for students, if there were 24 kids in the section or, something like that. But that would be taught by a Parkland teacher. It would also be an asynchronous learning experience, right? So an online learning, it isn't like we're having lessons all together and that sort of a thing. It's, very much, I think when we see the word asynchronous, we go back to COVID time and it's and I think a lot of our students are really not a fan of that. And you'll see that in the numbers when you see what our students are interested in. And then finally, a Parkland course taught at Blue Ridge by Blue Ridge staff. Okay, and so that would be that a teacher meets all of the requirements to teach the course. They'll receive training and curriculum from Parkland, and that's when the course is $41 instead of $525. All right, so who can teach dual credit? The teacher must meet Parkland's criteria. In most cases, that teacher has to have a master's degree and 18 credit hours in graduate credit hours in that subject area. So, if you're going to teach dual credit chemistry, you can't just have any old master's degree. It has to have some coursework in there. 2 of our teachers are already pre-approved. 1 teacher has pending approval based on a summer coursework plan and that sort of thing, which is what we're going to talk about here in a moment. And here is my dear friend Cheyenne.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about dual credit options that we would like to add to BRHS and ones that we already have. So these are an overview of the dual credit courses that we would like to have here at BRHS. The art appreciation is one that we currently have already. And the bottom 3, FYE 101, English 101, and English 102 are the 3 courses we're hoping to add. So Art 165 Art Appreciation, this is in its 4th year here at Blue Ridge. It's a 3-credit course. And the course is offered to 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students. The course is taught by Mrs. Joe Ramirez, and it costs around $41 for the students. The next course, this is one that we're hoping to add, is the FYE Strategies for College Success. This would be one of the new dual credit courses. It's 3 credits, and as a counselor that works with college or with students on college readiness, I think this is really great. The course would cover topics such as education and career planning, goal setting, time management, and personal development. This course would be taught by Mr. Casey Monsu, and he has the required master's degree that he needs. And this course would be no cost to students, and the books would be bought by the school, and we would continue to reuse them year to year. The next courses are English 101 and English 102. So English 101 would focus more on developing skills for essay writing, and then the second course, English 102, would be like research papers and things like that. Both of these courses are 3 credits each, and these would be taught by Miss Lauren Lacey, and this would cost students per course $41. Okay, so what's great about all of these courses is that they transfer easily to 100 or more participating colleges and universities in Illinois. The code that you see, that's part of that. It's an agreement that the universities that participate are in agreement with that it should transfer easily to other schools. And then we also offer dual credit currently with our partnering programs. So that is BACC and the CEO program. So the BACC program, this offers dual credit courses and certification through their courses. So these are a list of some of them. We have students in these now, and we're working for getting students into the program for next year. And then the CEO program is a dual credit program, 3 credits, and it's through the Western Illinois University.
Awesome. So we spent some time talking to next year seniors to see who specifically would be interested in the courses. And so when we look at English 101 and 102, there were 24 students who said, yes, I would definitely want to take this course if it were taught by Blue Ridge. But that number does go down to only 10 students if the course is taught by Parkland. Now there are some other there's some other data kind of mixed in here, and that is the benchmark there. And so what I've included in there are students who said yes, and they have a certain benchmark score in their PSAT testing that means that it would be rather easy for them to pass the Parkland placement exam. Students who haven't met that benchmark absolutely can pass that Parkland placement exam, but it might take a little bit more preparation and work to kind of get ready for that placement. So I just wanted to kind of include that in the data just so that, we know sort of realistically who is sort of a shoo-in and who would very easily pass that, that placement. So that number drops, but not by a lot. So we've got 16 students, which is an awesome number, who would be interested in English 101 and 102. And then we have over there with the FYE, which FYE stands for first year experience, FYE 101. We've got 27 students who thought that sounded pretty awesome. 13 of those meet the benchmark, and then if the course were taught online, again, that number goes quite a bit down. Now, art appreciation, the numbers were quite a bit lower, but one thing I do want to note with this is that art appreciation is open to sophomores, juniors, seniors, and not just seniors. The other ones are open to only seniors, and the only students that we surveyed were seniors. So, okay, and so then we get into this rural education grant. So, just because that's what happened, and awesome things happen sometimes. The U.S. Department of Ed contacts Mrs. Trimble, says, hey, we have money for rural schools to help them do awesome things, and here's a whole bunch of it. And so that's pretty awesome. And then in that grant, Mrs. Trimble has written in there that we would like to use that money to advance our school toward dual credit. Our school was awarded $32,900, and it needs to be used by the end of the year 2024. What we are asking is for us to consider using some of that money to pay for to pay for the training that Miss Lacey would need in order to be certified. She is a willing participant. She already has a master's degree, but most of her master's work has literature in it and not writing, and so it doesn't count, which is, but she's willing. She's a willing participant, and since this is coming to us from a strategic planning perspective, we're hoping that we could use this grant money. Again, this is not district money necessarily. It is grant money, and in total, it would use about a third of that total grant. There would still be quite a bit of that grant left over if we had other goals that we wanted to use it for. Another thing to keep in mind is that Miss Lacey said that she is willing to sign an MOU, saying that she's willing to stay for a number of years in order for us to really fully use that investment. And, and this is just kind of a thought about the investment of providing some teacher training. So yes, this money would go towards Miss Lacey's training, but essentially every student who takes English 101 and 102 is getting a $1,000 scholarship to Parkland, because that's what that course costs if you go to Parkland and take it. And so when you think of it that way, let's say we've got, 15, what did I say here? 15, was it 15? Okay, anyway, I don't remember where I put that. Yeah, okay, so, right, if you multiply that a whole bunch, right? We're looking at $75,000 in scholarship money that we'd be giving our students, and we're, talking about, some training for the teacher. Okay, I lost my paper here. Okay, and then if we don't have Miss Lacey to help us, or if that grant money doesn't go to her, it would be realistic for her to take her education a little bit more slowly so that she could get reimbursement for that, and so we wouldn't be able to offer that course taught by a human. It would be taught by a human, but a human that is far away in a little box, and so, that's obviously not ideal. So, we're hoping that we can do this. It does, if we didn't have Miss Lacey, it could potentially be a fairly high cost to the district, because if you factor in free and reduced lunch students and how they aren't going to be able to pay, they aren't going to be asked, we can't ask them to pay for their costs there, it could end up being a higher cost to the district. Asynchronous learning is difficult and unpopular with students, and that's just a fact. Shown by our data. And it wouldn't be a great use of our existing resources. If we were to add an online course, we would be taking away our honors English and to make that happen. And we would be using a teacher, probably Miss Lacey, while she was still working on her education, to basically supervise those students. So it's not really using, our teacher, who is awesome and willing and all of these things, in the best way. Okay. All right.
Okay, so what we're asking the board to decide on is to approve to approve the 3 additional courses we are offering. That is the FYE 101, English 101, and English 102, and to approve the use of the REAP grant for Lauren Lacey's tuition costs. All right, thank you.
Yes. Any questions at all? Yep.
I don't know. Can you? Okay, there it is. Can I ask, was math considered? And why, if it was considered, why was it decided not to be a recommendation?
No, we have not considered math yet. Right now, English was our focus, just kind of baby steps.
Yeah.
We could get this going, especially with the timeline of wanting to implement
Yeah.
next school year. And also, we would have to look at our staff as well as what their certifications were. I'm not sure that we're quite there yet.
Yeah. I was just asking because I feel like the last time I really looked at the statistics of classes that kiddos, well, I guess not kiddos in college, young adults struggle with in college, it's usually math that they struggle the most with and that they don't pass. So I feel like that might be something for us to really consider if we want to try and help our kiddos, young adults, have the most success in college.
It's definitely not off the table. It's just, we're just taking one step at a time. We thought that this would be a good place to start with, knowing that Lauren already had her master's degree. And initially, we thought that all of her literature courses would count towards the coursework needed through Hartwood. And then with further digging, we found out that they did not. So,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
yes, we definitely would like to expand, and it's just kind of a jumping off point.
Okay.
I had a question too on the testing out. Usually when the kids went to Parkland, they could test and see if they could go from not have to take 101, but go right into 102. Is that something that's going to be a possibility?
From what I understand, just from walking with students through this process, oftentimes they will either test into 101 and then they take the sequence 101, 102, or they test into a course that's like 106 or something like that, which is a combination course of both of those. But it's my understanding that both one or the other of those courses is required for any of their degree programs.
How does this look like it's going to, my problem is that with BACC, we have several students who are involved in that who are seniors or maybe seniors next year, but they also want to be involved in this dual credit. Is that going to conflict with scheduling, and when will the classes be during the day that they can come back or be in them before they leave and so forth?
Mm-hmm. Right, and that is the dance of scheduling, right? And so, like for example, this past year we took a look at everyone who had requested BACC, then we look at all of their other additional requests, and we try really hard to make all of those additional requests happen in that spot. So it's, it is a scheduling dance, and sometimes things don't work out exactly the way that the kid might want it, but I think that we could make this work for sure.
And then my last question I had was, you had something real quick up there about the CEO as being a dual credit. I know as our participation in that hasn't been the greatest on that. Do you think it's a cost prohibitive being $318, or is it just a lack of knowledge or interest, or? It's
definitely not a lack of knowledge because we've talked to students about it, and we've had them come in and talk to classes, and I honestly think that something that factors into CEO is the fact that students provide their own transportation, and they're leaving home at 6:15 in the morning, right? So, they have to be committed to that concept, and I think it's an awesome program. I've pitched it, so much.
Okay. Any further questions?
Of
Jesse?
course. I'm, and maybe we, as far as I'm aware, we don't offer AP courses, or we do. And which ones are they?
So at this time, we do not have any AP
Right.
courses that are taught by Blue Ridge teachers. We have had students take AP calculus if they choose to, but any of our students who are taking calculus are taking that as an online course. But we
Okay.
have recently had students take AP calculus.
Okay. Now, have we kind of like looked at the pros and cons of going this route versus trying to get more of our teachers trained to become AP teachers?
That wasn't. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, that would have been.
That really just came out of strategic planning, just listening to the community and parents saying that they specifically wanted dual credit, so that's kind of.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm coming from like when I was in high school. Granted, it was up north. I actually graduated with 21 college credits from all the AP classes that were offered that I was able to take at my high school. So I didn't know if that was something that we might want to say, like, okay, right now we want to do this, but maybe in the future would it be more beneficial for our students if what they really want is that college credit to pursue that course?
Yeah, and and the thing with AP that is, I think, less attractive than dual credit is that you take the course for the whole semester and then you take one high stakes exam that will determine whether or not you get that credit. Whereas with a dual credit course, it is your entire semester of coursework, just as it would be in a normal, college course.
Right. But don't they have to take a placement test to get into it?
A placement test to get into it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We appreciate the presentation, all the effort that went into it. And, all right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Well, we're going to get to our exemplary nights right now because the young kids have been sitting patiently and listening to all the good things they can look forward to. We do appreciate all the hard work and effort that goes on throughout our district, not only especially with our staff. And we think we got an exceptional staff here, administrative team, and those below them. And we'd like to recognize our staff first. And we have from our Schneider building, Michelle Wills. If you come up at this time, we'd like to recognize you. From the Blue Ridge Intermediate Junior High School, we have Megan Hardesty here as well. And from the Blue Ridge High School, we have Leslie Hieronymus. If you want to come back up, yes. We have several students with us here tonight that have excelled to the point to where it brought attention to those of their teachers and their peers in the building, and they want to recognize them for their efforts and their hard work and just being good students all around. Please take the time during the monthly newsletters to read about each one of these students and the characteristics and why they were elected for this privilege tonight, okay? We have with us from the Blue Ridge High School. Well, I think they're not with us tonight. I don't know if they're both playing basketball or one for sure, but Brianna, is it Brianna Friel? Brenna Friel, sorry, and Paige Browning are not here this evening, so let's give them a clap. Also not here with us this evening is the 8th grader, Brenna Light. Let's give her. And I think we have our first one here tonight, 7th grader, Aiden Hahn. It's okay. 6th grade, Jillian Newberry. 5th grader is Tucker Little. Dressed up tonight. All right. We have 4th grader, Kingston Collins. The 3rd grader, Oscar Tybel. 2nd grader, Willow Weedman. 1st grader, Victoria Cheham. And a kindergarten, Remy Whitler. Thank you. right, let's get us all in the perfect lineup here for a photo op, and the parents can come up and get a picture if you'd like. Should have got out of the back of the picture. Got it? What's that? Okay. All right. You may be seated. We also have someone here this evening from our community, Kevin Richardson from Country Financial. If you'd want to come up, you got the floor.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kevin Richardson with Country Financial here in Farmer City. Appreciate you coming, let me come in this evening, but I want to back up just a minute on the dual credit thing because my son went to Mattoon and he took dual credit courses, and then when he went to college, they transferred down to there. So he kind of cursed his mom for signing him up for him, but to all the parents, he did thank us when he went to school and he didn't have to take those other classes.
Right.
And I thanked my wife because it saved me a lot of money.
Yeah,
So
that's for
kudos
sure.
to dual credit. But the reason I'm here tonight is because part of Country Financial, we have an Operation Helping Heroes program where as an agent, we're able to determine what we want to do with funds. And we're able to give them to the school, we're able to give them to the police department and the fire department. This is my 4th year here in town. I appreciate it. I love the town. You guys have been great to me. I've given it to the police 1 year, fire department 1 year, and this time I'm giving it to the school. This is my 2nd year giving it to the school.
All right.
So I want to present you with a check for $1,500.
Wow.
I appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much. Someone get a picture of that one too. Wait a second. Yeah. If you have any insurance needs, Kevin's your man. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you. You can feel free to leave if you want to, or you can stay for the remainder of the exciting board meeting. With our running. That's pretty nice. Moving forward with our communications.
Okay, so we received a FOIA request from a company called Local Labs News Agency, and that was a request for board member information. And they wanted your full name, your starting date on the board, if you were elected or appointed. That information was fulfilled in a timely fashion, in fact, the day it was requested. They also asked for your date of birth and your home address. And so with the board's attorney, we said no thank you to that, and because that was personal information. And hopefully they will not come back and fight that, because we didn't feel like that was worth being FOIA'd. So that's how we responded.
Do we know why they wanted this information?
No. Okay. That's not part of the FOIA request.
All right.
Yeah.
Got a committee's reports. The finance committee did not meet due to lack of being ready, I guess. So
On the part of the auditor. Committee was ready.
We were ready, so I don't know when it's going to take place.
Correct.
Moving on to administrative report.
Okay, so for my report,
I would just like to highlight some things. I'll go straight to the strategic plan. This, I believe, would be our second quarterly update that we are providing, and some of the highlights that hope you're able to read through that, and that's a format that works for you. So you can see the date next to every highlight or every update that's added. Some of the things that I would highlight would be at the BRIJHS, the parent event. Some of you were able to attend. Others of us were in the car headed to Chicago, but I think Mr. Huddleston and Paige were able to have the most successful parent event that we've had in the last number of years, with 100 parents and students all involved in that event. You'll also see an update on the strategic plan that our tax levy that you'll hear a little bit more about later in the meeting tonight. Our overall tax rate is lower than it has been for the last at least 9 or 10 years, so we're glad to see that. The iReady program that we are using, not with every student, but with the majority of our students between kindergarten and 10th grade and some 11th and 12th graders. That's creating some data for our administrators and teachers to look at, creating some individualized learning paths for our students, and creating some data conversations. That's one of our more exciting pieces of information that's going on this year. And you've just heard a lot about dual credit opportunities at the high school, and administrative and AD meetings that are now happening on a quarterly basis. So for me, those were some of the highlights that I pulled out to report back to you on our strategic plan. I will also note from my superintendent's update that we are now Shield, Illinois testing free in our buildings. So we are on kind of a freeze with them, I would say, where our data, our information is still being held by them. So if we have some type of outbreak situation, I don't know how we would know that, because if we're not testing, you don't know if you're having an outbreak. But if we come into some type of emergency situation, we can call them and say, hey, we'd like to start testing again. So, but CDC is not recommending that we do that regular testing. So we did it for the first semester, and we'll move on. So that'll give our buildings a little bit more instructional time to gain back. And then also you see in front of you the district and school report cards that can be found on Illinois report cards. You have a very limited view on that snapshot that you see. Some of the things that you might look at would be the absenteeism rates between the buildings. I know that one of the things that Mr. Huddleston is working on with parents, especially in the grades 4 through 8 building, his absenteeism rate for students was higher than the other buildings. Very important for those families to understand. When you have to do dental appointments and vision appointments, try to do those after school. Try to do those on days off. If you do have to take your child to an appointment, we're encouraging parents to bring them back to school, even if it's just for a small portion of the day, whenever possible. Ask for missed work when you're gone. And then also teacher retention. You'll notice some of those rates between the buildings. That's just a very small picture of an enormous amount of data that's given about each school on those report cards. It's hard to capture that in a nice, neat form without sending you directly to the Illinois school report card. So you're welcome to look at that link and dig in a little bit further. You could spend hours and hours looking at each school report card. So again, this is just a very limited snapshot, but you can see some initial information about each building that way and the district overall. Any questions for me?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Moving on to Mr. Payton.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to share a few things tonight. Number one, it has been a very busy month, and I'll kind of piggyback on Dr. Stanifer's comment about iReady, and that is something that we have been completing our iReady benchmark. This is kind of a busy season for benchmarking. When we return from Christmas break, we will be doing some AIMWebs benchmarking as well as some Fondas and Pinnell benchmarking. So this is a time where we're able to see a lot of growth from fall to winter, and like she had talked about, really sit down and look at and analyze data from a school perspective, classroom perspective, and then also a grade level perspective, as well as individual students. So we really use this time to really analyze that information and kind of see, where our strengths are and where some of the focuses need to be as we move forward throughout the rest of the school year. I wanted to give a big shout out to Mrs. Weiler and all of our K-1 students for the music program. It was an awesome event. Students were singing, dancing, looking at rhythm and patterns. Doing all sorts of really wonderful things. And we're very thankful for the program that she has provided for our K through students, both art and music wise. And then I have to do a really huge shout out too to PIE. They have just done some really amazing things for us over the last semester, and they always do yearly. But this month in particular, they've been so generous in a variety of ways. Number one, they funded a movie that we had got to go to yesterday. All K through 3, actually pre-K through 3rd grade students were able to go over to the Princess Theater to view a movie, to get a drink and popcorn, all generously donated by them. And then they also, with a lot of great community support, were able to put together a 12 Days of Christmas event. And so every day over the last 12 days, we've had individuals come and bring different gifts and different food, and just really shows the support that we have in our community for our school district. So we're very thankful for that. And yeah, just really looking forward to a little bit of a break and re-energizing and then kicking back off when we start in January. So, any questions?
Thank you. Just to kind of spend a little bit more time talking about the evening on November 17th where we had families come in. It was a really great turnout. It was good to see some of you there. Ms. Trimble, myself, Ms. Weedman kind of put together a presentation, really helped us kind of look at how parents can interact with this iReady program, how they can kind of check in on their students' progress through the interface. And so we gave them opportunities to kind of look and see what those look like. Really dug into some of the IAR scores that we came in from last year and really looked at the areas where we needed to improve and areas that we were doing well in, but kind of where we need to buckle down in. And then we spent some time, Mrs. Weedman did, really helping our families understand how to navigate our Skyward student information system where they can check on grades, they can check missing work. How do we help continue to partner with our families so that we can leverage all these awesome things that you guys have provided for our school system to help increase our student achievement and a student learning. And it comes not just to the content areas, but also learning those things about how to keep up with things, how to keep up on your homework and things like that are going to be important things that they learn starting now and moving into high school. And as we just learned about some of these dual credit classes and taking those skills and moving onward. So we feel like it's a big piece of what we want to do, not just for our school, but as we look at ourselves as a learning community in the district. Spent work aligning our homework policy, grades 4 through 8. I sent out that message to our families here just this last week so that it would line up for all grades 4 through 8, and specifically around like how late work is accepted and how it's scored consistently at all grade levels, because there was a lot of subjectivity in that have just become a part of it, and so we're trying to align that. But good things around that's going to help us move along. Some of the fun things we got to do moving along, we had our fall sports banquet on December 12th for girls basketball, boys basketball, and softball. It was great to see all the families there, see our athletes recognized for their hard work outside of the classroom also, and just being part of that community. And then this afternoon today, we invited the community in to do a sing-along, and it was great to see some of you there. It was just, I thought, looked at it as an opportunity to have some collaborative efforts in our building, but at the same time, invite families in and let them see, hey, this is a place that's alive. This is a place that we want you to be part of. And so that was an exciting time to just kind of kick off the end of the year and fill the school with some cheer as we wrapped up our last day before break. On my final note, I'll mention that you're probably aware that Pam Hauser has resigned her long-term substitute position for social studies for 7th and 8th grade. We were able to interview Mrs. Trimble and I, a good candidate. Just got the reference checks late this afternoon on another long-term substitute that will be taking on that position. Miss Allison James, who's been student teaching in our building. So we're excited about that opportunity for the students to work with somebody that they know for the remainder of the year, they've already met and had a relationship with. Any questions you guys have?
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Easter.
All right, since high school people took up the first 30 minutes of the meeting, I'll try to be very brief. I follow up on dual credit. I think that's a fantastic opportunity. Lauren will be awesome with dual credit English. My kids also did dual credit classes as they went through high school. Neither one of them particularly cared for English classes, and we're very happy to have those credits so that they didn't have to take them potentially in college. So yeah, it's a great opportunity. And Chelsea, I'll be happy to talk to you about the real difference like between the AP classes and dual credit because my kids did both, and we can talk about what that would look like here. Let's see. Grade breakdown I shared with you. One of the things I've noticed last year to this year, we were really concerned last year about our freshmen and how it felt like about a quarter of the failing grades that we saw, actually, I'm sorry, more than half of the failing grades that we saw came from the freshman class last year, and it was maybe as much as a quarter of the freshmen were getting an F in their classes, or a quarter of the grades being earned by freshmen were F last year's. This year, market improvement, I think we've done a great job of communicating to the kids when they come in, look, if you don't pass this now, you're going to be taking it again next year. And they got to be in classes with kids who were a year ahead of them and see that those kids are retaking those classes. And that was a new experience, I think, for them because that's not always what they see moving forward. So that was kind of a point of emphasis, and I was excited to see not nearly as many low grades on that. So one reason for that was Lauren Lacey, something she did last year just as a brainchild at the end of the semester, this homework extravaganza she put together where it's like a free ticket. She publicizes it to the kids' parents, to the students and everything, and says, look, yes, some of you have a ton of missing work. You have a ton of things that you haven't done this semester. But for one day only, if you come in after school and sit with me after school and work through these assignments and these projects, I'll give you credit for that assignment. In this time window, if you can get it done this time, I'll give you credit for that assignment. No questions asked, whatever. And she had almost 20 students come in that day, and this is English 1, so freshman students. About 20 kids came in and turned in almost 50 different assignments to boost grades. So again, credit to her, above and beyond, trying to do whatever she can to help these kids see, every point matters. Let's get yourselves up to passing. So, and then a positive something for us today. We had a potluck. We did a potluck with our staff in their lunch today. We had so much food. Oh my goodness, ate way too much. But one of the neat things, and Jill Hardesty noticed it when she was sitting in there. It'd been a long time since our staff had really been together in a place like that and just kind of talking to each other and laughing and sharing stories. And oh my gosh, my beard just got stuck in the microphone. And it was just, it was a really festive atmosphere. And it was a lot of fun. And so that was definitely a highlight to be able to sit there and just hear people laughing and telling stories and all that. With the younger, newer staff, for them to be able to hear some of the things that had happened way back when and everything, it was just, it was a really neat day and a great way to finish off the semester. So I'm going to keep this away from my face. I think I got my whisker out.
Oh, gosh, gross. Okay, just a couple of things in addition to my report. Mr. Huddleston talked a little bit about having another long-term sub in the social studies position, so I plan on working with them over break, just getting them ready to transition to where Mrs. Hauser left off, just so that we can, have that smooth transition for all of our students. And then also with Mr. Huddleston, we have been working on a quality framework since the intermediate and junior high. was selected as a targeted school. We've been meeting, probably have had 3 or 4 extra meetings with our building ILT, looking at our systems, looking at different structures. What do we have in place? What do we need to work towards? So we've been working together on that, and along with that comes another 1003A grant that you've heard about for Ryan's building that's wrapping up hopefully this year. Bert's building also qualified. It was supposed to open up, I think, November 15th, and then it changed to December 15th. It is open now, and it's due the end of January, so I'll be working on that as well. So, any other questions?
Don't think so. Appreciate it. Thank you. You've had your technology reports and all the other OM and the, okay.
So we reposted that spreadsheet. Sorry about that. The updated HLS and district projects spreadsheet was incredibly long. So I gave you just the PDF of that tab. What we wanted you to see was the summer project list and the things that had been completed, just so we could give you an update. Anything that is not completed on that list has been taken over into a new tab on the long spreadsheet that you can no longer see, and that's into the 2023 spreadsheet. So that was just an update for you, so you could see the things that had been done and the things that will be moved over to a new spreadsheet.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to approval consent items. We need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items listed on attachment A as presented. Francie? Second. Kenna? Yes. Moving to old business, we need to discuss the approval of the 2022 tax levy.
Okay, just a minute, please. There have been no changes since last month when you saw this as a tentative presentation. I do want to point out for the minutes that last month we had talked about the fund balances both as of the end of 6/30 of 2022, and I also showed you the fund balances as of 10/31 of 2022. If we could note those for the minutes, that is a new law that we have to make sure that we are sharing our fund balances, so that is in the presentation, again available for you today. We talked about our EAV trend data. We continue to increase. Thank you to the farmland that is very rich for Blue Ridge and our 212 square miles. We are seeing a decrease in our bond and interest tax rate trend data. And as I had alluded to earlier in the meeting, our overall tax rate trend data is we're seeing the lowest total overall tax rate in the last 9 years. That's what we usually look back over the last 9 to 10 years. So our overall tax rate that we're going to be filing is 5.2103. For the levy year of 2021, 5.2598. So you can see that we're decreasing. Does anybody have any questions about the tax levy?
No. All right, need a motion and a second to approve the 2022 tax levy for Blue Ridge Community Unit School District 18 as presented. Rusty, and you want to second that then? All right, Jason second, all right. Yes. Moving to new business, press, first reading.
Press 110 is a very large issue.
It was my favorite one ever.
So as you notice on our agenda, we're listing all the different topics, numbers and topics there to make sure that anybody who's looking at our agenda has an opportunity to see what those topics are in case they want to come to the meeting and attend. So right now we're looking at the first half. That's what's been recommended to me and other superintendents just because the content is so long. So right now we're just in a first reading. There's nothing that we're asking you to approve. We will come back to you in January and see if you're ready to approve that. We won't be looking at the second half until the month of February. There are some things in the second half of 110 that I'll be working with the district attorney on before we bring those to you for a first reading.
And those who may be coming on the board, new members, I hear that the Committee for Press Policy is very exciting, if you'd like to volunteer for that. DCFS liaison.
Again, another legal piece is that the district has to have a liaison person who is going to help with any enrollment or record transfer issues with any student who are under the direct supervision of DCFS. So I will put my name in the hat to be that person. So if that is meeting your approval, I would be happy to be that person.
Anybody? Yeah. Rusty motioned that. I need a motion and a second to appoint the superintendent as the DCFS liaison, right? Or something like that. Thank you.
Liaison.
For Blue Ridge School District 18 is presented. Rusty's motioned. Kenna? Yes. Moving to approval for addition of dual credit courses at Blue Ridge High School. Any further explanation needed on that?
And this again is English 101, English 102, so first semester and second semester, and then also the FYE course, that is the one semester course. That's what they spoke about, would be taught by Casey Monsu. And again, the English 101 and 102 would be taught by Lauren Lacey. And so this is just the approval of offering the courses here at the high school. My hope would be that Lauren Lacey would be the teacher for those instead of the online asynchronous Parkland instructor for English 101 and 102. That's, I believe, the most effective mode of delivery. It would be a shame to lose an in-person honors teacher for the sake of an asynchronous Parkland instructor.
That need to be discussed underneath this motion, or is that something because the following motion hinges on what that decision is?
They're kind of tied together, so.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I personally feel it's best to have it taught here in the school by one of our teachers. And it sounded like most of the students would rather participate in that type of a classroom setting. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we do have a BRFT signed, halfway signed agreement.
I honestly can't remember anything I learned from my online college classes. I just zipped through the slides. That's all I did.
Wow. Yeah. Confession tonight from Chelsea Leffelman.
What do you say? Confession tonight.
I don't think they'll take the A away from me now.
All right. Okay, we need to have a motion and a second to approve the addition of English 101, English 102, and FYE dual credit courses to Blue Ridge High School course catalog beginning in the 2023-2024 school year as presented.
So moved.
Chelsea? Second. Rusty?
Yes.
Yes. Consideration of using grant funding to support preparation for dual credit courses at Blue Ridge High School.
So this is the financial component of it. And I do just want to make sure that we're clear that one of the reasons, and I don't think this came out in the conversation, one of the reasons why we started to approach English first was that English has a 4-year requirement at the high school. That's the only thing that has a 4-year requirement. Math does not. So it made sense for us to go there first because every grade level is taking that. And so when strategic planning said look at dual courses, we went to English. We found out we had an English teacher with a master's degree. So it was a natural progression. The teacher did not approach us about asking for money. It was the other way. We approached her. So it was done in the right order. And I do not believe that we have a current math teacher with a master's degree. Okay, so, and exiting a 1 year, 3 semester retiree, okay. So we're going in the correct order.
And math is just so different at the college level. Like what math you need really depends on what you're going into. Even at Parkland, what you need really depends on where you're going with that. So we could offer a math and all these kids could take it and it could really not help at all towards their degree. It's just so specific, even at Parkland. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had 2 kids go through there. Their maths were very different of what they needed. And unfortunately, I mean, this is just reality. Many kids go to Parkland and they start in like 099. It's just very common. So
That's why we have the transitional math.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so our better bet is just to encourage. It's specific. So again, I definitely am glad we went the English route first because math it's a more tricky beast to figure out how that would benefit the greatest number of students.
Yeah.
Like I said, unless you knew all these students wanted to take the certain math. If you're going into a health profession, your math path is very different than if you're just taking gen eds at Parkland and you're transferring somewhere else to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Very, very different.
I think our enrollment would be very different.
Yeah, and for kids to understand that, hey, you're taking this dual credit, but then when they get there, it really didn't help them. So you don't want to sell something that really isn't going to have that benefit later for them also. So I don't, just my thoughts on it when they were presenting.
You're right.
I do have a slight, if we're ready to make the motion, I do have a slight wording change that I'd like you to make in that motion if you could.
All
Okay.
right, what is that?
To approve the MOU with the union to provide REAP grant funding to cover tuition and fees for Lauren Lacey to obtain additional master's credits in English composition. And then continue for the purpose of teaching dual
In
credit.
English composition.
So to obtain additional master's credits
Christy's getting all that down, right?
in
Okay.
English composition for the purpose of teaching.
All right, so I'll try to repeat that. I need a motion, a second, to approve the MOU with the union to provide REAP grant funding to cover tuition and fees for Lauren Lacey to obtain her additional master's credit in English composition for the purpose of teaching dual credit English for Blue Ridge High School as presented. Jason? Kenna?
Yes.
Yes. Consideration of health insurance MOU?
So I'm just going to read from the action sheet. During open enrollment, we ran across a situation where an employee changed their insurance plan from the high deductible 3,000 plan to the high deductible 5,000 plan, and they added their spouse. The language of the ZBA states that the board pays the individual's annual insurance premium for a program comparable to that which is currently in place. The monthly premium cost of the 3,000 plan is $597. The monthly premium cost of the 5,000 plan is less, it's $522. So the question was asked, if the employee's premium is lowered, which amount does the board pay for the employee? It's important to note that the language was written in the CBA when the district only offered one plan, the 3,000 plan, which has the higher deductible. So the insurance committee was convened to discuss the intent of the language and agreed that the employee should continue to receive the amount of the benefit that was associated with the original 3,000 plan. And if there was an excess premium, the excess could only be used towards the premium cost for the spouse, child, or family's premium. Anybody have any questions on that?
No. I need a motion and a second to approve the MOU stating if an employee chooses to move from the base plan, currently 80 HP 3,000, to an alternate plan such as the 80 HP 5,000 plan, the employee would receive the same amount of benefit towards the alternate plan's premium Any extra premium benefit may only be applied towards the premium cost for the employee's spouse, child, or family coverage. Motion? Jason? Francie?
Yes.
Yes. Need a motion and a second to move from open session to closed session for discussion of appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, ongoing, pending, or probable litigation, semi-annual review of closed session minutes at 8:10 p.m. Okay. I second it.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. All right, Zig, thanks for coming.